Alright, welcome back to the Nostalgia Critic Vlogs. We got episode 2, which is the Cartoon All-Stars, or the Drug PSA, as I believe it's called on that guy with the glasses.com. So, this is the second episode of Nostalgia Critic, and for the first time in the series, only the second episode, it actually looks like a Nostalgia Critic episode. He's behind the desk, he's talking to the camera, and it's intercut with footage from the thing he's reviewing. It's only about 7.5 minutes long. So it's not nearly as, complex and detailed as the stuff you would review later, which would come up to upwards of an hour. But it's still a really solid episode. And I'm sorry if I'm a little out of it. I've been away for like over 24 hours at this point, trying to balance stuff. But I'm kind of happy that I'm a little loopy because this is, this PSA is about drugs, and Doug makes a really funny joke later on, which I will get to towards the end of this vlog. Anyway, so what's different in this one? He's got his catchphrase. He actually says, "Hello, I'm the Nostalgia Critic." I remember it, so you don't have to. But he doesn't close the show that way. He just opens the show that way. He doesn't have the tie or the t-shirt. So he's got the jacket, the hat, the catchphrase. Doesn't have the tie and the t-shirt just yet. His voice is also a little bit different. He's just kind of doing Doug. It's a little more monotone. It's a little quieter. It's kind of... it's really strange, because, like, this doesn't even match, like, the Doug vlogs. It's clear he's very nervous, doing audio for the first time, and the transitions between him talking to the camera and him doing the voiceover of the footage is, clearly a little more amateurish. It's a little more obvious, which is to be understood. It was his first attempt doing this, I think. It's probably his first attempt doing this kind of work. What else we got going on? The first running joke kind of appears already this early on, which is there's a character in this Drug PSA, and the thing he's reviewing is this Drug PSA, Cartoon All-Stars, where all the classic 80s and 90s cartoon characters, the Looney Tunes, Muppet Babies, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Alf for some reason, Pooh Bear, the Smurfs, Alvin and the Chipmunks, they're all going to get together and talk about drugs. That's what it's about. And there's a character in this special that's a puff of smoke that's like the evil spirit getting kids to do drugs, voiced by George C. Scott, and Patton is one of Doug's favorite movies. So the first sort of running joke in the history of Nostalgia Critic is Patton references, and taking a character voiced by George C. Scott and just throwing in, like, overdubbing the real footage with a scene from Patton, which happens in this episode, and it's really funny. As it would be forever. All the way up even to, they did it, like, there's literally a moment where Linkara has a Patton moment in Suburban Nights, but that's way later. So that's the first running joke. We also have the first appearance of the handgun, which is interesting. Watching this video, I noticed that he doesn't swear nearly as much as he used to. His shtick is not high-pitched, really angry, swearing, I'm freaking out. It's really just like, this is this interesting thing with all your cartoons. It's about nostalgia. And it's not as good for a lot of reasons, but it's still interesting. It's interesting that a show based on nostalgia, children's things, with not that much swearing in it, I think he only says the F word, fuck. I think he only says fuck like twice. He still has a gun. And it always struck me interesting that the Nostalgia Critic has a handgun and he murders people and characters, and I always liked that. I always thought it was kind of insidious in this day and age to have a character, even though it's for humor, even though it's just for laughs, just blatantly murder people. I really, really like that. And I'll get more into that later on when he meets the nerd. So we got the gun, we got the George C. Scott thing, Patton reference. Let's see, what else is going on? There's actually a recurring joke, sort of. This special, the drug PSA special, ends with all the characters, all the cartoon characters, just going on and on and on with the moral. So Pooh Bear is like, "Don't do drugs," and then Bugs Bunny shows up and like, "Yeah, what's up, Doc? Your life, that's what's up." And then the Ninja Turtles swoop in and they got something to say, and Doug intercuts this with the Nostalgia Critic reaction saying, "I understand. Okay, you want to go. Alright, just, oh my god, I get it. I get it." That same kind of joke, the exact same style of joke, and the editing would be used later on in the Pokemon review, which I'll get to that later, but it's interesting that it's the exact same joke at the same placement in the review. It's the end of the review. So this is sort of the Rosetta Stone. If the first episode, Transformers, was a weird artifact that would eventually lead to the bum reviews, this first Nostalgia Critic is the Rosetta Stone of a lot of stuff that would show up later. Tying it back to what I said at the beginning, which is one of the funnier jokes that Doug does. It's not even a joke, actually, which is a good point he makes. The show's about, this PSA is about don't do drugs, and all his cartoon characters show up. All your favorite cartoon characters show up to tell you not to do drugs, which is kind of a goofy idea. It's like, smoke weed, and all your favorite cartoon characters are going to show up and tell you not to smoke weed. Fuck yeah, I'm going to smoke weed. It always reminded me of something that I don't think Doug ever covered, but I think a lot of people from my generation remember it. There's this very famous PSA growing up, and he did a whole thing of PSAs, and I don't think this one was in there, which I'll get to that when we get to the Nostalgia Critic PSA episode, the top 11 episode. My favorite PSA about drugs ever is a kid sitting in a living room smoking weed, and his dog, like a Labrador Retriever, jumps on the table and looks him in the eye and starts talking to the kid, and he's like, "I don't like you anymore, Billy. You're no fun since you started smoking weed." And then the dog walks away, and the kid's like, "Yeah, stop smoking weed." Then it cuts to, like, think, marijuana, you don't need to do drugs. I saw that, and I was like, are you fucking kidding me? If I smoke weed, my dog is gonna talk to me? That would be amazing. Like, fucking A. I will absolutely quit smoking weed as long as you talk to me from now on. So, my own little bits of nostalgia here. I'm relating to this for the first time in terms of thing I grew up with. Of course, I grew up with Muppet Babies and Winnie the Pooh and all the other characters in there, but I never saw this particular special. I never heard of it until I watched this Nostalgia Critic thing. But I did like the fact that there's a goofy drug PSA that actually kind of encouraged you to take drugs. I think that's everything that I wanted to say. If I forgot something, that's my fault. Like I said, I've been awake for 27, 28 hours at this point, just trying to balance out my life. But I really wanted to do one more Nostalgia Critic video for you. I wanted to get up another one, like I said, keep doing one a day. And it just sort of seemed fitting that if Doug's going to start out rough in Nostalgia Critic videos and they're going to be a little bit unfocused, they're going to be a little bit weird, I may as well be a little bit unfocused and weird too, especially this is the drug PSA, excuse me. I'm just a mess in this vlog. This is the drug PSA vlog, so it makes sense. I'm a little loopy, I'm a little out of it. And I just wanted to get this out there and talk about it. So yeah, this is episode 2 of the Nostalgia Critic, the drug PSA / cartoon all-stars. And it's fun, it's good. It's definitely the archetype for what would be the model of the show for the next 5-6 years, up till now. Yeah, I'm not sure what episode 3 is, but I'll have it tomorrow for you in his next review. So that's all for now. TTFN.